Today in this little mini training, I want to walk you guys through the 4 different phases of the restrict binge cycle and how to break free. So the first phase is the restriction phase. So people think like, I'm not restricting myself because I'm no longer dieting. I'm not restricting myself because I'm not tracking my food. Restricting yourself does not mean that you have to be on a diet. Restricting yourself can be very, very, very sneaky. So I remember even when I, stopped following like intermittent fasting and 21-day fixed portion containers, I stopped tracking my food, I was still restricting myself because there was a bunch of sneaky food rules. How many of you guys have sneaky food rules? Where maybe you are telling yourself, well, if I have carbs for breakfast, then I probably shouldn't have carbs at dinner. Or, well, I had some chocolate yesterday, so I probably shouldn't have chocolate today. Or, I shouldn't eat after dinner. Or, I must have protein and vegetables at every single one of my meals. Whether you recognize it or not, these are sneaky food rules. Even telling yourself, I can only have one cookie. You might not see that as restriction because you're like, well, I'm allowing myself to have the cookie. But it's restriction because you're only telling yourself you can have one. So that is the first phase. You have all of these food rules, right? And they can be very sneaky. Maybe you're consciously aware and you're like, yep, I know my food rules. Or maybe they're a little bit sneakier and they're a little bit subconscious and you're like, oh, I didn't think that I was restricting myself because I was allowing myself to have peanut butter. But I recognize that I'm only allowing myself to have 1 tablespoon. Or I thought I wasn't restricting myself because I'm allowing myself to have chocolate, but I'm telling myself that I can only have 1 small piece. That is still restriction. So that's the first phase, okay? Now, because you are restricting yourself, what happens when you tell yourself, don't eat after 7 o'clock, only a small piece of chocolate, no carbs at dinner if you had them for lunch? You're going to start feeling impulsive. You're going to start having these strong urges to binge. You're going to be thinking about your off-limit foods so much more. The foods you tell yourself you can't have, you think about so much more. When you tell yourself 1 or 2 pieces of chocolate, you end up binging on the entire box of chocolates. When you tell yourself to not eat after dinner, that's often when you end up mindlessly snacking in the evening. So phase 1 is the restriction phase. And then phase 2 is when you feel this sense of pressure, right? You're like trying to do good. Okay, don't eat after 7 o'clock. Okay, just stick to 1 or 2 pieces of chocolate. And you feel pressure. You're feeling impulsive. You're trying to do good. You're trying to follow the rules that you set for yourself. But here's the thing. Your body was not meant to follow strict rules. Your body feels pressure. Your body creates these strong urges. And this is what makes you feel crazy around food. You're like, I don't know why I ended up binging at night. And I'm like, I know exactly why you binge at night. Because you told yourself to not eat after dinner. Or you told yourself that you couldn't have the rice at lunch when you know that would have made your meal so much more satisfying. So that's the second phase. That you feel this sense of pressure. You start having these crazy food thoughts, these strong urges to binge. Now, when you have strong urges to binge, you're thinking about food so much more. What ends up happening is you enter the third phase. You enter the third phase, which is I can't handle the deprivation anymore. I just have to give in. These urges are so freaking strong. I'm just going to give in one last time. I promise. I'm just going to give in today, and then I promise tomorrow I'm going to get back on track. So the third phase is when you end up releasing all the pressure. You end up giving in to your strong urges. You say F it, you binge. Now you're out of control because the one cookie that you told yourself you're just going to have, that turned into 2, turned into 3, turned into 4. Then you went into the pantry, you grabbed something else, and then you're grabbing something sweet, and then you're grabbing something savory, and you are spiraling out of control. That's the third phase. After this pressure built up, the pressure got released, and now you're spiraling out of control. Because nobody can stick to these crazy food rules. Nobody can tell themselves to, restrict for a long period of time. So now you're binging, you're overeating, you're spiraling out of control. Then you enter the fourth phase. The fourth phase is the fear phase. How do you feel after you've just binged? How do you feel after you've just overeaten? How do you feel after spiraling out of control, eating past fullness? Now there's like guilt and there's shame and there's judgment, and you're telling yourself you shouldn't have even started. You should have stuck to the plan. You feel bad. There's fear. Am I going to continue spiraling out of control? Am I going to continue to binge? Am I going to gain a bunch of weight? Am I going to feel so uncomfortable in my own skin for months and months and years to come? There's a lot of fear. Oh my gosh, I need to get back on track. I need to stick to the plan. So what ends up happening after is you go back to the first phase and you start following the rigid rules again. Okay, let me actually try this time for real. I'm going to stick to the plan. And you end up back at the first phase, which is the restriction phase. But this cycle continues to repeat itself. You restrict yourself, the sneaky food rules, which creates this pressure. You're thinking about those foods so much more. You have strong urges. You can't handle that deprivation. You say, screw it. You end up binging, spiraling out of control. Then you have fear and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm spiraling out of control. I'm going to gain a bunch of weight. And then you go back and you start restricting yourself. The cycle will continue to repeat itself over and over and over again unless you let go of the sneaky food rules. The subconscious sneaky food rules. And I know it's challenging. I know it's challenging because you're probably someone who likes to be in control. And a lot of the times when you are binging and you're feeling out of control, it's really easy to think, well, then I need to control my food even more. But the more you try to control your food, the more out of control you feel. The more you try to control your food, the more out of control with food you feel. So if you just keep on repeating this, you continue, like if you've just binge and then you restrict yourself the next day, you're going to create another strong urge and you're going to have another binge. Maria said, I always listen to your podcast. It really helps me. I'm so glad. So you have to stop at the first phase. You have to let the food rules go. Again, they might be subconscious. They might be very sneaky. Like, again, I remember telling myself, like, I'm not dieting. I was allowing myself to have almond butter, but it was like you can only have 1 tablespoon. That's a sneaky food rule. I was telling myself that I could have chocolate, but it was like, not during the day. You can't have chocolate during the day. I only allowed myself to have it at night. And then, of course, I would just binge on it because I was depriving myself. So you have to watch the sneaky food rules because no matter what, that is going to create these strong urges. And anybody who has strong urges is going to give in and binge. Like, this is not a willpower thing. Like, you can be the strongest person, but if you have these strong urges, you're going to keep on binging. You're going to keep on binging. So you want to break free. Like, you're done with the freaking crazy food thoughts. Like, you're done having, a good few days with food, but then sabotaging if your day doesn't go as planned, or maybe you're traveling or you went to a social event. Like, the only way you're actually going to be consistent with your food long term, the only way you're going to eliminate your binge urges is if you actually rewire your brain. You have to actually heal your relationship with these foods. You have to feel safe eating certain foods, because if you don't feel safe eating certain foods, you're always going to feel like, I can't have those foods. You're always going to feel like, I can't have those foods. I talk about my client all the time. She was like, I cannot have dried mangoes. Like, every time I have dried mangoes, I always binge on them. I talk about this client all the time. But it's not that she couldn't have dried mangoes. It's that she had an unhealthy relationship with them. So when she implemented my root and rewire process, I helped her shift her relationship with dried mangoes. And instead of having them in the evening and binging on them, she started having them during the day. She's like, there's nothing wrong with me having them. If I want them, I'm going to honor my cravings. So she started having some throughout the day whenever she wanted them. And then she didn't feel the urge to binge in the evening. So it's not that you can't trust yourself around certain foods. You just haven't built up that trust yet. You haven't healed your relationship with those foods that you keep on binging. So when you actually rewire your brain and you shift your relationship with the foods that are triggering, just like I did with almond butter, I'm like, I'm allowed to have 2 tablespoons if I want. I don't have to be weighing it out. I don't have to stop eating after dinner. Like, when you let go of the food rules, you're going to feel less impulsive. You're going to have less urges. And of course, it's going to feel so much easier for you to not binge, because you don't have these urges. You don't have this outside force that's driving you to go into the pantry. It is so much easier to stop your binge eating when you don't feel a strong urge to binge. And this is what I teach inside of my Root and Rewire membership. The whole premise of the Root and Rewire membership is rewiring your brain so that you no longer feel a single urge to binge. This is why clients, that work with me, they're like, I can't remember the last time I binged because there's no urges anymore. My client that used to binge on dried mangoes every single night, the reason she stopped binging on dried mangoes was because she doesn't have an urge anymore. She's like, I literally don't have the desire. I used to always binge on chocolate chip pancakes. And now it's like I can have them literally whenever I want. And I have a few and I just move on because I don't have an urge. I've eliminated my urges altogether. I've completely rewired my brain. I allowed myself to have chocolate chip pancakes whenever I wanted them. Not only one time per week, not only when I was feeling an urge. If you're only allowing yourself to have certain foods when you're impulsive, well, you're setting yourself up to binge. This is what I often see. You don't allow yourself to have, let's say, chocolate, but then you always binge on it because you're going for those foods when you feel a strong urge versus allowing yourself to have some because you know that it's like you're not doing anything wrong. So then you have some chocolate and then you don't have urges. And therefore, you don't binge on chocolate because you don't have any urges. Like, this is literally it. So the Root and Rewire membership is my 6 or 12-month program that helps you completely rewire your brain out of binge eating. You don't need more crazy food rules. You don't need to not buy your favorite foods, because that's going to only continue making those foods triggering. You need to actually rewire your brain and eliminate your binge urges. And that's what I teach inside of the membership. So you can message me membership and I'll send you the details. There was a question here. Do you think that feeling too full can trigger a binge? Absolutely. Because a lot of the times it's the all or nothing mentality where it's like, well, I already feel like crap. So I need to make myself feel better because I feel like crap. So let me continue to eat more. It's like, I feel so uncomfortable. So let me continue to make myself feel like crap. But it's also, I feel so uncomfortable. So I'm also looking for like the numbing out and the comfort, the short burst of comfort that binging gives you, because I want to try to make myself feel better. And then it's like the all or nothing mentality. It's like, well, I already am so full. I already ate so much. So I'm just going to continue binging and then tomorrow I'll do better. And again, that's why you have to rewire your brain so that it's like a session of overeating doesn't spiral you into a binge. You recognize, okay, maybe I did eat too much. Don't love that, but that's fine. I'm not going to continue to make myself feel like crap because I overate. You can literally prevent a binge when you shift your mindset. So this is a little mini training that I have for you guys today on the 4 phases of the restrict binge cycle and the power of rewiring your brain to eliminate your urges, which I teach inside of the Root and Rewire membership. So if you've not yet joined the Root and Rewire membership, get inside. We have clients from all around the world. There's been way over 100 people that have gone through this membership from Australia, Brazil, Italy, like literally all over the world, Germany, the UK. So if you want to feel less alone, if you want to be part of a badass community of other women who are just as serious as you as conquering binge eating. These ladies are committed. It's like you're going to feel so empowered that you can absolutely conquer binge eating. Every single time that you don't act on a strong urge, you're going to be celebrated. You get to celebrate your wins. You get to feel less alone. You get to finally feel like hope and excitement that you could absolutely conquer, because binge eating thrives in isolation. When you're trying to figure out how to do this on your own, you think you're the exception, you're the only crazy person, you're the only person thinking about food, until you get inside the membership and you're like, wow, like these people think the same thoughts as me. Like I'm not alone. You release so much shame, you release so much judgment, and you heal so much faster. My clients conquer binge eating much faster than anyone else trying to do this on their own, because not only do you have direct coaching and mentorship from me, someone who has past lived experience with binge eating, you learn all the brain-based tools to eliminate your urges, and you have the community to plug into so you never feel alone. So you're celebrated every single day, every single week. You're sharing your wins. You're feeling like so excited. You're so freaking proud of yourself, and you have win after win after win, binge free day after binge free day after binge free day, and you just feel in constant momentum. So message me membership to get inside. I'm so excited, and I cannot wait to see you guys inside the program. So have an amazing rest of your day, you guys, and we will see you soon. Bye.